I grew up trying to figure out what was going on in the world. I felt like there was more for me. I didn't have a Carrie, but I had a man named Mr. Johnson who lived next door. And here's what I'm speaking to, because we all have an opportunity to be a Carrie in this room. Mr. Johnson would give me cookies when I did good in school. He would tell me it was going to be okay. He lived close enough to hear all the hell that was going on in my house. He saw my shoes run over and he bought me some shoes one day. And I said, thank you, and I smiled. Ugliest shoes I ever seen. But I wore them because he gave them to me. Mr. Johnson thought I would be okay. You know, I would go to school and see. That's why I understand these children so much. I would see people murdered. I was at home watching the news and had just left my best friend and saw his face. He was murdered in school, you know, and I would go to church, the choir members, during this AIDS epidemic. You would see them one week, the next week they were dead. And living in that, I'm just so confused and saying, what is all of this about? I didn't have a Carrie. I didn't have a Carrie to teach me about utensils. But I remember being invited to the governor's prayer breakfast, and I was the only kid from the inner city school that was invited. Forks and knives and everything in front of me. And I'm going, what the hell I do with this? There was a little white girl across the table from me, and she knew how small I felt. She sensed it, kicked me under the table. I look up at her, and she starts using her forks and looking at me. So everyone she used, I used. That's how I learned. She was a Carrie for me. Mr. Johnson was a Carrie for me. So as we all have an opportunity in this moment, we all could be Carrie for some of these children. Because the smallest thing, people remember how you make them feel. You know, I didn't have a Carrie, but I had a praying mother. And I want to say happy Mother's Day to her up in heaven. I'm not very good at receiving honors because, I feel very strongly, no matter what's said, what is most important to me is what my work does for people. When I get a letter from, which I have, this woman who said that I did in 2 hours what her and her family had been trying to do for 12 years. Her sister saw Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Miss Kimberly Lees was in that movie. She saw that movie and she left an abusive relationship. Most recently, I got a letter from a woman who said she was watching Temptation, who was promiscuous, and she contracted HIV. And seeing the movie made her realize all the mistakes, and now she can turn her life over to hope. So that is what the power of filmmaking, that is where I get my honors. One woman, her name is Makisha Brown, I'll never forget it, I was reading on my Facebook page, she had a cornea transplant. And she talked about all the things she couldn't wait to see. She could not wait to see her children get on the school bus. She could not wait to see, walk in the classroom where her children were and be able to see them and not have to wait for them to call her so she'd know what direction she was in. And she said, I couldn't wait to see one of your movies because it was the movies that took me through all of my darkness. And now that I can see what I've been laughing at, what it encouraged me. So that's what's all important to me. Those are my honors. So this is just a blessing above and beyond, not necessary, but I surely appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I want to tell you this last little bit. Am I taking too long? Y'all about to play the music? Okay. I want to tell you this last little bit about what you're doing. There are people that will come along in your life that can give you just a nugget of truth, a moment of wisdom that will carry you through your days. I remember, and this is not a racial story, but y'all just bear with me just a minute. I remember going into this interview in New Orleans and I didn't even intend to tell this story. I was going to this interview for a job, and the guy came out. This was in Metairie, Louisiana, where David Duke, former Ku Klux Klan, was elected to the Senate in this town. It's very, very racial. So I'm there waiting to get this job, and he comes out, the manager comes out, he interviews all the white guys sitting next to me, and he just interviews them, he takes them in. Then he takes one look at me, and he's like, I'm not gonna. I watch him go to another salesman and say, go interview that kid. So the guy interviews me. He's asking me all these questions. He's looking at the application. He said, well, you didn't finish this, and you didn't finish that line, and you didn't finish this, and you don't finish that. And then he said to me, what this tells me is that you don't finish anything. How can you get something out of that? I'm telling you, that moment changed my life, because now I finish everything. That man, his intention was to be negative, but I turned it into a positive. The power of children and young people is that if they see the opportunity, if they see the possibility of what can be, they can change whatever circumstance they're in. So for you to do this, I pray for you every day that God continues to bless you. It is amazing. You deserve every moment. Thank you for this. God bless you. God bless the board and everybody involved. I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the